you, and thank you, Di, for keeping me balanced. So please jump in and share your perspectives as well. As the manager of both our Linden and Birch Bay libraries, and the Birch Bay, the envisioned community room in that space would be big enough to fit this meeting, and there wouldn't be a charge. So there's another way you can see. I hope you all know that right now, library services delivered to Birch Bay come via a bookmobile every Wednesday, 3 to 7, and that we're working on completing this Birch Bay Library Express. And so I have about a 20-minute video if you really want all the details of the, I think it goes back to March, which was just after we submitted to Whatcom County permits for shoreline and CUP, conditional use permitting. And we just heard today that everything has, well, I can't say been approved, but here, they're gonna be here scheduling the hearing. And so what a process. We had a lot of help.
You can sit with me.
Please mute yourself, Paul. Gotcha.
We had a lot of help, I don't know, greasing the rails or something, trying to get this thing struck loose and where we want to be now.
And we can share out the update on our social media and via our newsletter and whatnot.
Great. Yeah, I would say that video, 20 minutes, it gives a lot more detail, and it's still pretty much accurate. It talks about really the question that people want to know is, what's the timeline? When are we gonna be done? And the variables have to do with our permitting process, which again, we're still waiting for a hearing. And then that's just for the conditional use permit, the shoreline, and then we're gonna have building permit, but those tend to not take as long as what we've been going through right now. And once we're fully permitted, then we can bring a contractor on board, and that is really the piece that we need because a contractor comes with a timeline. But I do believe that we will be cutting a ribbon sometime in 2026.
Yeah. Next slide.
Yeah, please. Okay. I want to talk a little bit about WCLS, also known as the Whatcom County Rural Library District. That's how you see it on your assessors when you're looking at all the different taxes you're paying. And a couple of key facts. We are an independent junior taxing district. We are not just a part of Whatcom County. We're separate from Whatcom County. Whatcom County Library System is independent, and we're also separate from the Bellingham Public Library. We do a lot of work to make that separation invisible, so you can go into those libraries, you can request those materials, and we'll get them to you. But we have separate budgets, separate administrations. Whatcom County Library System is all of Whatcom County, not including the city of Bellingham. Thank you. And real quick, I'm going to cruise through some of these highlights, but 2024 was a really good year. 59,000 card holders checked out 2.1 million items. And if you were just to total up the things that people checked out, they would have spent $42 million if you would have spent your own money to buy those materials. And by the way, the budget for the library is about $10 million a year. So already just on the stuff that we check out, it's an incredible return on investment. Yeah. We had over 550,000 visits, people walking through our doors to our locations, almost 5,500 people attending programs, over 2,000 programs. So much is going on in the library. And we have a lot of things other than just books and ebooks like Libby. There's streaming things, streaming movies, streaming music. Got to check those things out. You can only watch your whatever collection till you get tired of it so long, and then you can check out what is the online movie? Canopy, or Freegal is the music streaming service. So you can ditch some of your subscriptions if you want to and start using the library in that way too. Consumer Reports, Ancestry.com, Value Line is a great tool for business. Local newspapers, you can log in and read Cascadia Daily News and Bellingham Herald. Maybe there's some hometown newspaper across the country, and the odds are that we might have that paper as well. So great access to local news.
Can I add Data Axle? The Research and Feasibility Group used to try to hone in on sales taxes that are generated in the Birch Bay area.
Yeah.
So thank you for that.
Oh, I love that. I'm glad that you're using that. And some things you might not think that the library has: puzzles and games, ukuleles. The backpack there has a Discover Pass in it, so that you and your family can save some money and still access those parks. And also Wi-Fi hotspots are really popular, and an important tool for people. Of course, you can also drive to the site of the future Birch Bay Library and get onto the Wi-Fi there as well. You know about the bookmobile. You may not know that we deliver services to people in some homes and residential places. We used to actually send staff into people's homes. COVID changed that, but we have a books by mail program. Jail service, 8 hours a week. That staff time is actually paid back to us by the county, but we're visiting on a weekly basis and rolling materials out. Meeting rooms is one of the things that we heard Birch Bay needs. In fact, that's why we designed the space the way we did. Typically in our smaller libraries, they are collection heavy, and we have some libraries without meeting spaces that are even bigger than the one we're going to have here in Birch Bay. But we heard that the community needed this, and so we're going to have room. I think it's 35 chairs. Connect Ed is if all students going into a public school in Whatcom County, their school ID is also a library card number. And so we have staff going into the schools, and they know they can go online and place a hold, and we'll actually bring it to the school for them. They can drop it off at school. The biggest barrier to students using the library is actually getting to the library. And so by serving them at school, the amount of materials checked out within our Connected program is the same as some of our mid-sized branches. So it's having this program is kind of like adding another branch's worth of circulation. By the way, speaking of circulation, Whatcom County Library System, within other library systems in the state that are about our size, 100,000 to 250,000, we're actually at the lower end of that scale. Of all libraries compared within that range, we are #1 in circulation per capita. Whatcom County are great readers, and it's something to be really proud of. And part of the reason is because we have a really strong library system, and we need to keep it that way. Of course, you know about some of the great programs we have because we bring them here. We partner with the Chamber. Such great partners here in Birch Bay. This is probably the place where we have some of the most fun, most frequently, especially throughout the summer. And of course, teen clubs, social events, book groups, music. I said 2025 tax revenue is 10.1 million. We have a huge collection of materials, 670,000. And if we don't have it, we'll bring it here for you from somewhere around the world. I saw an item from New Zealand the other day. Printers, we actually have a weekly printing credit because we want our staff to be not having these transactions. Give us your 50 cents. We don't want to have transactional interactions. We want to have transformational interactions. So let's not talk about the nickels and dimes. Let's talk about what you're working on so that we can connect you with some other resources. So that's one of the reasons why we have a weekly printing credit. We have 168 staff. Most of them are part-time, but still, the Whatcom County Library System is an employer, a fairly large employer, and we employ local people who spend their money locally. Great. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the levy, which I'm not sure if anyone has gotten their ballot yet, but I heard they were dropped in the mail. So they're going to be seeing them soon. The August 5th election date, and there is a library measure on that ballot. And so how much tax dollars go to WCLS? We're going to use the number $600,000 assessed property value because that's the median cost outside of Bellingham. And so if your property is worth more than that, think of a little bit more. If it's less than that, think a little bit less. But basically right now, our levy rate is 26 cents per thousand, and that is $156 per year toward Whatcom County Library System, or $13 a month. I don't even know if Netflix might cost more than that. And the measure that the request, it would restore this levy rate to 42 cents per thousand, which would add an additional $8 per month. And I encourage you to go to the assessor's website and to look at what you are paying for your property, because and compare it to some of the other things that you're paying for with your tax dollars. And we believe it's a good deal, a good return on investment. So we can probably go to the next slide. That's an example of the long list of things that you'll see in your the assessor's website, and that's just one example we gave. This person is paying $130 a year to the library. The question I most frequently get is, you want to restore it to 42 cents per thousand, and how did it get from 16 years ago was the last time the library came out to the voters, and in 2009 during a recession, and people said, yes, we want good libraries. They supported it, and that brought that restored the levy to 44 cents per thousand, and since that time it's fallen to 26 cents per thousand, and the reason is that the levy can increase a maximum by 1% each year. And but population growth, property value is growing, and so the levy can only grow by 1%, and so the levy rates start to fall.
I say, you increase it by 1%, inflation goes at 2.5%.
Yeah. That's what's happened. Inflation has caught up with us over the past 16 years. We've been in a budget deficit. This year, we're in an almost $900,000 budget deficit. Next year, as a projected $1.1 million deficit, we've been spending down for the past few years our savings account. And the board recently created a levy stabilization fund so that if the levy does pass, that we want to continue to be good stewards so that we're not coming out every 3 to 5 years, but that we have another 16-year wait in between. And so we want to make sure that when with the beginning of the cycle, when more money is coming in, that we're saving it so that we can extend this out as much as possible. Thank you. This just goes to show that our revenue is 95% property taxes. There are some other fees, grants, $2 million for this library here. Other projects, we just got $135,000 in a variety of grants for a project at the North Fork Library, and our expenditures are primarily staff to provide those services. 73% of our expenditures are for library services. And I love this slide because it shows what's changed since 16 years ago when we last went to our voters. And the population has grown 18%. Our open hours have grown 22%, and that's by doing things like we opened a library in Sudden Valley. We've added Sunday hours at Ferndale and in Linden. We are trying to always squeeze as much out of do as much as we can with the resources we have. Our circulation has increased 47%. There's that $2.1 million number there. And how about on costs? Minimum wage has increased 90% that time. Minimum wage used to be $8.55 an hour. So unlike a business, when you get more people using your what you do, you tend to make more money. The libraries, when we have more people using, which is what we want, but it costs us more money. And so it's that we're really aren't like a business. And so it can seem a little counterintuitive, but still, we want to drive people to our doors because it just shows that the way we're doing things here is a success. People are voting with their feet. Beginning part of this year, we've been doing a lot of listening. We had 11 listening sessions throughout all of our locations, and we got ideas about how we could be decreasing funds and decreasing services and increasing revenue. And we heard you should be using volunteers. And boy, we look at our volunteers who gave us 10,000 hours last year, and we said, we're using volunteers and you should be getting grants. And we have a foundation and who brought in, I forget how much money each year, but we're doing those things and they are all successful, and those really aren't the answer to the problem that we're in right now. Okay, I want to make sure that we're talking about the most important things for you. So maybe we could, I could wrap this up about the levy, and let's go ahead a slide or two. Here's our volunteers, and next we have our little thing about private fundraising. And maybe the next slide is an example of the ballot language that you're going to see, just so that you can be familiar with it. And I wonder if you have any questions And don't hesitate asking the hard questions, because you might be talking to your friends and neighbors about this, and the sooner we hear hard questions, the better we can be prepared to answer them too.
Is your levy ceiling 50?
Yeah, by law, we can't go above 50 cents per thousand. The board had a lot of great discussions and landed on 42 cents per thousand. We didn't want to just go to 50 because we can. We wanted to pick a number that we felt was, again, being good stewards of tax dollars, and was going to be an amount that would can be able to continue the great library services that you're already receiving for a good number of years into the future. This is a big lift for us to go through this sort of a process. It cost a couple $100,000 to be in an election across the county, and so we don't want to do that every few years.
York's an answer question.
So earlier, I think you have a great slide to show the increase from 2008 to 2024.
Mhm.
Do you have more data that is in the last decade or last 5 years?
Oh,
Because sometimes two dots making a line,
yeah,
it's going up, but
Yeah.
maybe the detail, was it trending down, trending
Sure.
up in the last 5 years?
Where you would want to be zeroing in on is the pandemic,
Mhm.
because that threw the line, that threw a big dip into the line, and we've been continuing to recover from that dip. So we just looked at numbers for 16 years. If we looked at numbers from the past 10 years, we'd see a lot of similar growth. If we looked at numbers, compare ourselves from 2019, right before the pandemic, I'd say that we are probably about nearly recovered. I'd say we're still recovering, but have largely rebounded from people's behaviors changed, and it's the hardest thing to do,
Right.
is to change people's behaviors. And so a lot of people have moved. Actually, we've been seeing the use of our print collections decreasing for the past few years by maybe 1%, but then the use of the digital collections
Has gone.
it has gone up, and so we still are in a net positive growth,
Okay, good.
even though the use of our print collections is taking this hit. And when we're talking 1%, it actually is really good news when you compare that to what libraries across the state or country are seeing. When we compare ourselves regionally and nationally, we're looking pretty good.
Good. Good. Thank you.
Ollie has questions for you.
I'm kind of curious, what is your relationship with the various cities that you're in, Ferndale?
Yeah.
And what does that dynamic look like? It's not just, property taxes, they actually go.
Is there collaboration?
Yeah.
or-
Yeah, so first and foremost, our library buildings are not typically owned by WCLS, and so Ferndale, the municipality, the city owns it. There's a couple where actually a Friends of the Library groups own their building, and in Point Roberts, it's the Park District, but typically it's the cities own their building, so that's a great partnership. That's saves us a lot of money. And so great partnership there. Also, we have one of our values is to be amplifying the work of other community resources. And so if the health department is trying to get COVID tests out to people, or prescription medicine return envelopes so that we get that stuff out of homes and taken care of, or I'm trying to, these types of things, we give them real estate in our libraries, and we say, this is the Care Connect. This is where you can, where you, other community agency, I was at Ferndale Library today, and they had the DSHS, a mobile office there in the parking lot. And so we are a place for other community resources to come to get their word out, to be the literacy council, for example. Volunteers are using our meeting spaces and helping people learn to read or learn English. We have a long list, actually. Even just look at the groups that use our meeting rooms. That's a very passive way for us to partner with them. In fact, sometimes we're not even aware of them using it. It's a long list from beekeepers to Toastmasters to AA, to whoever it may be. They use our libraries, but we do reach out intentionally and co-create programs that are partnerships with the Blaine Core Gardeners or something like that.
I worked with the city of Yachts a couple years ago, and one of the things that they're doing with their new library, because they're in the process of constructing, is they decided to make it a shelter as well. So because they're right on the coast, I wonder if that's something that we could think about long term. So, and they
Yeah.
also got a big Department of Energy grant with some PVs on the roof. Just for what that's worth.
Yes, the Deming Library just got totally free solar panels, totally paid for. And I think there could be an opportunity here as well.
Do any of the libraries, I've been to a lot of them, have as good of a view as?
Bars in the middle of
Oh, man, hands down.
Have you ever been to a library that has as good of a view?
View is fair.
Oh, man, and you know, we love to talk about the 6,000 square foot outdoor programming space, which is the front lawn at the library. And we like to talk with the friends about how, you know, a lot of friends groups, they have revenue by having book sales, but we're just not gonna have the space in that library for book sales to be happening on an ongoing basis. But one of the things we don't do is, I mean, we have meeting spaces, but we're not, you know, we're not an events fee. The library isn't in the business. We don't really do that. But what if the friends could oversee that for us and have wedding events or whatever the case may be, write some grants and get the infrastructure so that we have the tents and the tables and the stuff and a little storage building. And I think that could be a great revenue source and really sustain programming into the future if we're, and that is the place
It's a
to
great
be.
idea.
I'm not sure how many more of my slides. Oh, there's one I want to for sure get to. This is basically, the levy really is a maintenance levy. We don't have a lot of fancy things that we want to spend new money on. We just want to keep our doors open, because in the next slide, you'll see that if it fails, we are going to need to be cutting back on how much we're spending on our library materials. We're going to be cutting down our open hours. And the way that saves money is that you reduce your staffing. Okay, this is the piece that's really important, and the Whatcom County Library System. I see you have here in your packet a discussion purposes only pre-annexation library services agreement. And basically the way that each Whatcom County, unincorporated Whatcom County, voted to have a library system in 1944. And so everyone in unincorporated Whatcom County started getting library services. Even up in, we used to put books on a train going up to, where's Seattle Lights?
Oh,
New Haven, Whatcom County. So all of Whatcom County. But once the cities would incorporate, I think Sumas was the first incorporated city to annex in. And so it took a vote of the people of the city of Sumas to say, yeah, we want to be part of this system as well. And one by one, all of the cities have done that. So if Birch Bay becomes an incorporated city, then we can't just start taxing you for your library service. Right now, we're taxing because you're an unincorporated part of county. If you incorporate it to a city, then there needs to be a vote of the people to say, yeah, we want to be a part of WCLS. But there could be an agreement such as this that has the city agreeing to pay what is currently being paid in that assessed tax assessment. So that we can continue those services uninterrupted. And so it's the type of thing that might cause a lot of confusion, because as you are incorporating as a city, there might need to be another ballot measure that says then, yeah, and we want to annex into Whatcom County Library System. And I can imagine there'd be so much confusion. I'm not sure about some of these other agencies, public agencies, if that would also need to be part of a ballot measure for them as well or not.
As far as we've heard so far, and we've spoken with a lot of them, the library is the one that would require this a pre-annexation services agreement to continue service.
Because the others are, while they're districts, they are actually government entities.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
That, I think that's my basic understanding of
So
it.
the others are MOUs or MOAs.
Yeah.
their municipalities actually, or water sewer district is
And I mean, there's other ones that could be annexed. Cities have that ability, but this is the one that there would have to be an action by a city council after incorporation in order to restore services.
Make a short list of things that you.
Which is why it was important that you came here and we talked about this so that, you know, we can communicate the information to the community. And there's a couple of questions.
Would this be a little more complicated since WCLS owns the building and the property?
I don't know if that's the reason that makes it complicated. I think it's a matter of, we can only tax people once they vote to be taxed. And so I don't know if you have two ballot measures at the same time, one saying, let's vote to become incorporated, and one saying, let's vote for incorporated Birch Bay to be part of the library system. I'm not sure, I'm not sure if that timing even works, or if you'd have to do one and then wait for another election to do the other.
Own the library, because the
Yes.
other groups like Sumas possibly built the library and owned the library at that time.
Well, but still, if Sumas was unincorporated right now, then they incorporated it and they still owned the building, we would still be in the same situation. Whereas we'd have to be saying, are we, if we're not able to collect any revenues from the people of this new city, are we going to be able to afford to deliver library services there?
And that's what I was saying.
And so
You
it's,
potentially deny people that live here library services. If
Here's
it's
the
open for people
weirdest-
that live outside the county,
Let me
like
just
come in and
jump-
use our library.
let me just jump to the
Right.
weirdest scenario. That's exactly the weirdest
Right.
scenario is. Number one, the grant funding, the couple $1 million that grant funding that went in here, there's also part of that agreement is that we're gonna be running a library there for at least 10 years.
Yeah.
So imagine us, so there is gonna be a library there. But if there isn't an agreement for the people of Birch Bay to be paying taxes for library services, then it is possible for us to say, we are here to serve the people of Whatcom County, and you have to be living within our service area to use these services. And so imagine that, right? And so it's just ultra weird. Another weird aspect as far as ballot measures go is that there might be a lot of people who are confused. They might see this library measure on the ballot and think, wait a second, haven't we already seen this a couple times? And what are they trying to do here? And of course, that was to get some money to build our initial community vision of a 7,600 square foot library. We've pivoted and we're going to be using the existing structure, total renovation, however. And so people might be thinking, we've been here, done this. Why are we doing this again? This is different. This is for library services, not a new library building in Birch Bay. So it is a different ask for a different thing.
There must be a precedent there. Fine.
Well, what's unique in this situation? So the WCLS was established in 1944. The most recent city to be incorporated in Whatcom County was 1929 or
28 or 29.
28 in the 20s, 100 years ago. So all of them were cities, and then I guess they annexed in shortly after the establishment, except for Bellingham. But we'd be coming around long after the library system.
Linden was not part of it for a while.
That's
It
right.
was like 78.
Yes, Jack Krause was the mayor when because they used to run their own library.
That's
And they
right.
said, actually, let's vote for this because then we'll get all the money that the city is currently putting into their library. We're gonna now put that into building a new building.
That's right.
And that was kind of how it worked. Hey, everybody, vote to annex in, and all the current money that's being put toward it in the budget, we'll build a new building, and then 10 years later, when it's all paid off, we'll be able to free up that expenditures to other things for the city.
It was a good deal for Linden, even though years and years ago, they wouldn't allow Mad Magazine.
Linden had a lot of strange laws. That one of
We like Linden, let's leave them out of it.
What's one? Great, is that we won't be doing maintenance on the library.
That's right. Since WCLS does own this facility, we also own the maintenance work.
Sure.
Because so many of the friends groups got the building and then it needed a new roof.
Yeah.
We didn't have money. You need to know that the Friends of Birch Bay Library, bought the building and the property, right?
What's that?
We raised the funds.
Definitely raised the
Yeah.
funds.
Yeah,
Yep,
that was what the Friends had to do, 650,000 or something like that.
75, maybe.
Yeah,
Mhm.
so, okay.
Yeah, thank
You friends, you raised the
But then,
money.
then they figured out what they're gonna do to modernize it. And then, the building was not meant to be a library.
No.
The upcoming levy has nothing to do with that building
It does not.
happening, it's just the service level that may be provided there if the levy does not go through.
Let me think about
And we
this.
don't annex into a city, we end up becoming a city.
We are, even if the levy doesn't pass, we are continuing forward with this project.
Right. The whole system's just gonna have a change in service level.
That's right.
Yeah.
You wanna tell them how we're gonna staff that?
Right, so the reason it's called Library Express is because it has this express model that we've been playing with at our administrative building and then some of our smallest buildings like Sumas and Point Roberts. And essentially, your library card becomes a key. In those locations, it actually opens up at 6 a.m. and closes at 11 p.m. And so it's not staffed all the time. We're not saying there's never going to be staff there. Our plan is actually have it staffed, say 20 hours a week. But that you would have much more access to
Yeah.
getting in for meetings or whatnot, even before or after staff are there. Or you have your hold on a book, you got your notice that it's there. You don't have to know what the open hours are, just scan your card at the door. There would be some cameras as well, security cameras. But then you can just use the self-checkout kiosk and pick up your book and be on your merry way. So in this way, one of our core values is improving access. And that's one of the innovative ways that we're working on improving access. Probably that level of access would stay the same. Would we still have 20 hours a week of staffing? We'd like to. Would we so it's a little uncertain exactly what cuts what are going to be doing. Right now, we're primarily looking at thinking, well, 8 hours a day. So at Ferndale and Linden, where we're open 11 hours a day, that would be some cuts. The full reality hasn't really hit us yet. We're kind of waiting to see what happens.
Yeah.
But this library project is absolutely moving forward, and so that isn't on the line if something gets cut.
I will say that for staffing, personnel and costs, the staff that are going to work in Birch Bay are coming from Linden. So Linden's going to be reducing hours regardless of whether or not the levy passes or doesn't pass, and that's how we're gonna staff. And that's what I'm sharing the locations because myself,
Yeah, we tried to find ways when developing that staffing model to do so without adding a lot of additional costs. And so thank you for having that flexibility.
Diane, do you want to speak a little bit on the agreement from the meeting last year, or did we do a sufficient enough job kind of covering it?
Yeah, I think the conversation was really good around it. One of the things that I will add, when Christine Perkins, who's the executive director, we met with Matt and Lisa last year, and we could come up with a 5-year plan to get everybody up to annexation. And so it wouldn't be like it has to happen at the same time for a vote. So there is an agreement that we can come together. It wouldn't be indefinite, but it would definitely give everyone time to understand what was happening. I think that was one thing that I would just like to add with that. And our plan is, the hope, I live in Birch Bay. I live up on Clam Digger. I'm supporting and down and in this community a lot. So my hope is that we can give good information. People will understand what it means to annex, what it means to have library service, and what it means if we don't as a community. because it is a different thing and it hasn't happened for a really, really long time. And I do think people are gonna be confused about it.
Yeah.
I don't think they understand the term annexation.
Again, annexation is definitely
It's
different.
a different annexation.
But
Mhm.
yes, but what Diane's saying, we can separate the issues and timing so that
Yeah.
there's time to
Yeah.
adequately inform everyone.
Yeah.
What it really.
And I think really just making sure people understand what that looks like. Because when we did talk about it, it would be really weird for me to have to pay to be a member of the Birch Bay Library if our community did not annex in. And here we've gone through all of this to get the library. And yeah, so it's been an interesting project, I'll say that. But I think that's what I would add, Matt.
Yeah, and thank you, you and Michael and Christine for putting this together and talking to us. You were the first district or stakeholder, big stakeholder that kind of took our group seriously. And since we've talked to a lot of the big ones, but that was nice to having something real to discuss over a year
Yeah.
ago. Yeah.
We look forward to it.
Yeah, it gives you an idea of what questions the people are gonna have.
Yeah, great.
And the term annexation is misleading.
Yeah.
And so they have to understand what that means.
Well, that'll be up to a virtual city council if the
Mhm.
community does decide they want to go through with the corporation that. That we've talked a lot about, and I think Bob Jean, the retired city manager that spoke to us in May, kind of told us that a lot of the first years of a new city is setting up the new city and doing things like this. So it all makes sense there. Yeah. Did you have?
I will finish with something really fun, which is we have this thing called the library game. And gosh darn it, I forgot to bring my little deal, but it's a collectible card game. And each library has its own card design. The Bookmobile has one. And when we open up Birch Bay, it'll have one as well. And there's also other ways you can get cards other than just visiting the different locations. In fact, just yesterday we released a new one called My Library Stories. So you can go to the website and write out a little story, or you can call the phone line and leave a 5-minute voicemail. It'll be really fun for us to hear people's library stories. And then you get the My Library Story card. And once you collect 16 cards, you become a library legend. And we've got these antique gold die cast pins that you can wear to show that you are a library legend. And it's just been so fun. People have been traveling the counties, visiting these places. It's kind of like, all right, kids, we have a trip planned. And it's super fun. You get to go somewhere the kids actually want to go when you get there. And we've been having a lot of fun with it. And we're going to be continuing to release new cards throughout the year.
I took my 2 great grandsons, told my we're gonna go see the library. What? I ain't got enough of that in school.
Just tell them we got computers.
It was humorous. When they got there, each one of them walked out with about 4 books.
Books and video games and whatever it is the kids are doing these days. American Girl dolls. Oh, animatronic cats and dogs.
Oh, no.
He's has a robot cat.
Mobile this Wednesday. I go see those cows every week.
And you know, they are fun, but also they can really help people. We've heard stories of saying, you know, my kid has been attacked by a cat and he's really afraid of cats. And this was a way for him to slowly kind of come up to this thing, which is a safe thing, and maybe start to get over some of that past trauma. Also, some seniors who are in their homes, maybe feeling lonely, maybe they can't have a place where they live, and care providers have been telling us stories about bringing these into the homes and how much they responded to them. Like, you know, we just had to buy our own. Thank you for letting us try this out, but we just had to get our own. And we've just been getting a response that, you know, we thought it was kind of cute, but actually we've been hearing how important it has been to people. And so we went from cats to very recently added dogs. And so Place some holds. I know the holds list is a little bit long, but place them. You never know when you can go pick up your dog at the library.
Got your own.
Thank you so much. Were there any other questions or anything else anyone wanted to add? No? Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having
and
me.
Thanks for
Thank you.
doing all that you do, and we look forward to watching down at the audience. Caprice is not what?
Oh, yeah.
Caprice is not here. so-
Not here. Caprice, I'll move to adjourn.
All right. Second.
Thanks,
There you go. Thank you, Michael. All right, all in favor of adjourning?